Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with a 420 review of What If, Episode 8, What If Ultron won. I believe that is the number of the episode, and I believe that is the title, but I could be wrong. It's been almost a week since I've watched this, but it was great. Obviously, Megatron's here to represent our evil, robot deal, even though, Vision / Ultron is technically a bit different, but love the episode. I do have to ask right off the top why this has nothing to do with the end of the last episode and why the last episode had this cliffhanger where the Watcher was in that story telling it, and yet this episode starts off and it's just him telling us a story again, which is really weird. Although there was something that I saw where they mentioned something very interesting where he mentions in your universe this thing happens, and it's like, well, that's an interesting thing to put, because if he was talking to us as the actual viewers of the show, they would have said something different where it's like, in your universe, obviously it would lead into like being comics and stuff. They've never actually referenced, not that I can recall, I don't think they've ever referenced the Watcher is already talking to someone else. Like, we always kind of just assume it's ethereal stuff where it's like, he's just telling the story, so it could be us. But he specifies in your universe, and I don't think he's ever said that before, which I didn't notice that during the episode, but I thought about it and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, in my head, I'm stupid. I didn't think like, oh, that means he's talking to someone else. I was just like, I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're in that universe or whatever. We are that person. But I was like, what if if they put that in there, that means he actually is already talking to someone. And it would be interesting if they actually reveal it, which it seems like they would with that hint, because it's the internet and nerds are going to find that stuff or notice the obvious. I just missed it. I caught the line. I didn't register what it actually meant, but I was like, that's pretty cool. So we might get like an extra reveal at the end of this episode, this next episode, season finale, I should say, really. So we might get a hint at something that we didn't even expect. Like, this was already crazy where, end of last episode, Ultron comes through and not the Vision, the Watcher's telling a story. And he's just like, oh, wait, like, that's not supposed to happen. Still really weird. Weird that ends like that. And then this episode has nothing to do with it. Like, it just picks up as its own separate thing. But I loved it for sure. And, of course, it kicks off and we have seemingly the last two people in the universe, because they do that whole montage throughout the episode. And I was like, Ultron wipes out the whole universe. And then he's like, that's when he finds the Watcher. And they even reference it on Earth where they're like, well, if you can't get him and it's universe wide, then what does that mean? So they know, like, it wasn't a thing it wasn't like they were jumping back and forth in time. He did all that stuff. And I'm like, were they literally the only two humans? First off, on Earth, because maybe they just didn't have time. But I was like, it feels weird that they're the only two people alive out here. But, it was like, okay, that's interesting. They seem like the only two people alive. And then he actually wipes out all life, at least on all other planets. Who knows what the actual deal is on Earth. But on all other planets and within the universe, everything's dead. And then that's when he finds the Watcher. So I was like, are they the only people alive, period? Because if they win, they got nothing. So that's interesting. But it was just something I thought of. I was like, it's weird. It literally feels like they're the last two people on Earth, and then he wipes out the whole universe. So that was an interesting way for that whole episode to go, where I was like, I can't really tell if there's any other humans alive, like, at all, considering what he does with the stones, which is also a crazy scene. Vision comes in, he's doing this thing like, check me out, right, and just split down the middle. He's just dead. He's gone. So that was interesting. And then, of course, epic costume. I actually really enjoyed it. And then, of course, traveling the multiverse. Amazing fight with the Watcher. He armors up and everything. And he's, like, punching them through universes. They have the Steve Rogers as president universe, which is cool. And they're just flying through, doing a bunch of stuff. So I like the way it was handled. Visually, it was great. It was really interesting. There's, like, we didn't, who would have seen the Watcher actually fighting somebody. Then he has to armor up, and he has to do a power-up and everything. So, full anime. Love it, of course. So, fight was great. Everything's terrible. Like, we get to the end. And it's like, I would assume that, obviously, at least Black Widow, because Hawkeye sacrifices himself. They do the Infinity War illusion, or in-game illusion, where it's like, oh, like, they flip roles. Great scene, by the way. I always like whenever Hawkeye is in something that's not the movies, I like him way more. Hopefully, his new show will be great. But I love seeing him in animated stuff, because they can't do all those things in live action, or at least they won't. It's like, maybe it's because it's Hawkeye, like, we gotta put money in Iron Man. He's got lasers. We not, like, I know you got one laser arrow, but we're not gonna use that. So maybe that's what it is. But when he's animated, he can shoot out crap where it's just like, here's a force field that's holding down Visions. That's super cool. He has like a super mega thermite grenade that blows up like everybody. that's really cool. I mean, obviously, maybe that's the one he's talking about in the Hawkeye trailer, actually. So who knows? Maybe that's the worst one, like a real explosion. But it was cool. I was like, I like seeing him. He had the cool robot arm. I saw a review where someone referenced it would have been super sweet if how she got the Captain, or not the Captain America, but she got the Red Guardian shield. If he actually had Winter Soldier's arm, that actually would have been super cool. But that would have been a really sweet reference. Like he got the arm off Bucky after the apocalypse. But it was a sweet episode. Like the whole thing was super cool. And then of course it ends. Surprise, surprise. Watch is like, I need your help. Like I know I came in and you were like, help me, and I was like, can't. But I need your help now. So we got evil Doctor Strange, who everybody thinks is going to be in the movie. I think this is our new Mephisto. Although Mephisto might actually be showing up. So there's some weird stuff where I'm like, he might actually be showing up very soon. They do reference Nightmare and Loki, which I thought was interesting. But fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. So very excited for the season finale. I just want to see how it ends up playing out. We also haven't seen... There's one moment where they had Gamora. Maybe that was in this episode where they somewhat show it, but I don't think we've actually seen the Gamora that shows up in the trailer, because when they do the, Avenger style pan, which I think may have actually already passed, or that's coming up in the next episode, because I'm like, was that a glimpse that I missed or something? Because we have not seen Gamora at all, so I'm like, where does she come into play? It'll just be interesting. They could just throw her in. It's not like anyone watching probably knows her by now. But it'll be interesting to see where that scene hits, or if I've already missed and just forgot. But I'm excited for the team up at the end, because he's going to gather everybody else. We have to see Captain Carter again. Like, I've seen like some stuff random, because they've been showing the promos. I try to avoid it as much as possible, because I don't want to have any real clue as to how things are going. Like, had I actually watched that trailer, which the scene that I'm thinking of still hasn't happened, it wasn't even in this episode, I feel like I would have figured that out. I think if I saw that moment in clarity, maybe they don't have any of the Ultron bots in that shot, but I was like, I feel like that I would have figured that out and it would have spoiled it. So I'm glad I skipped all that stuff for like the second half, because I didn't want to know anything about the team up stuff. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. I'm curious and excited to see what they end up doing. Everybody's thinking somebody's going live action. I thought Killmonger before we found out it was still just Killmonger. Everyone wants Captain Carter, but I just don't see them doing that live action and like doing the CG and making her bigger and like doing all that in CG. And technically would just be having another, Captain America-like character. I don't think they want to rehash that so soon, even though it's such a different version, especially with it being Peggy. I think they're going to let like their new heroes take over. I don't think they're, unfortunately, Stomp on Me Peggy, I don't think is going to be in live action. We just have to face the facts. But this episode was great. Like I said, looking forward to the season finale. We'll love to know what you guys thought about this one, as far as, the little Easter eggs that went through like a scroll world. There was something else that caught my attention, but I can't think of what it is anymore. But there was something outside of the scroll where I was like, oh, that's a unique one, that as they were like going through all the flashes, where I was like, that one caught my attention. And it totally slipped my mind. But the scroll is definitely one of them. Can't wait to see more of them in the MCU, of course. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do for this finale, and if they'll throw any hints. Like something could happen where they're doing all the multiverse. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to any answers. Like I said, we'd love to know what you guys thought about this one, and we'd love to know your predictions for the season finale. What you guys think is gonna happen? Who might show up at random? What they're gonna do to connect to the MCU, or at least kind of give reference. Like this minute thing might have been, the impact for this thing down the line. We'll love to know your thoughts on that. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.